Hi, my name is Caitlin Reed. I am the third grade science and social studies teacher at Ashley Park this year. I wanted to take a moment and I wanted to go over the standards for third grade for science and social studies. Science and social studies are not tested subjects in third grade. However, on the reading EOG and all the check-ins, there will be science and social studies passages. And then in fifth grade, all the science standards that students will learn with me will carry over into fourth and fifth grade, and fifth grade science is tested. So I wanted to start by going over the science standards. So I will just give you an overview and a brief explanation of all the standards that students will be learning this year. So an overview of the third grade standards by quarter. We have in the first quarter 2 science units that will be taught together. So the first one will be matter, properties, and change, followed by energy, conservation, and transfer. In the second quarter, we will also be doing 2 science standards, and those are Earth and the Universe and Forces and Motion. Third quarter, we will only be focusing on ecosystems for science. And for the fourth quarter, we will finish off with Earth systems, structures, and processes, and structures and functions of living organisms. So I want to talk first about matter, properties, and change. This is the first unit that we will do for science in the first 9 weeks. For this standard, students will need to be able to understand the structure and properties of matter before and after they change. So this means that they'll need to understand that air is something that's all around us and is matter. And they will be comparing solids, liquids, and gases. And they will be able to explain what happens when heat is applied to matter. So these are all the key components that we're going to focus on for this particular unit. And after we finish up with this unit, we will immediately move into energy, conservation, and transfer. In this unit, students will need to understand how energy transfers from one object to another. So that'll be our focus for this second unit for science for the first 9 weeks. So with this, students will be understanding that energy can be transferred by rubbing 2 objects together, and that energy can be transferred from a warm object to a cooler object. So those will be the key components for energy, conservation, and transfer, and that will be the 2 units that will be taught together in the first 9 weeks for science. When we move to quarter 2, we'll talk about Earth and the universe, and this is going to be where students will gain an understanding of the major components and patterns of the Earth, Sun, and Moon. So this will have to do with the solar system. So students will work on understanding that the Earth is a part of the solar system and that solar system includes the sun, moon, and stars. They will also understand the change in shadows of objects as they relate to the sun. So those are the key components for Earth in the universe. We then move into force and motion for the second unit for the second 9 weeks. So force and motion, students will be working on understanding motion and factors that affect motion. As part of this, students will work on comparing the speed of objects, if they go faster or slower. They will be learning how to identify a change in speed with a force. And they're going to understand gravity. So these will be the key components of force and motion, and those will be, so Earth systems and then force and motion will be the 2 science units that we focus on for the second 9 weeks. And from there, in the third 9 weeks, the only science unit that we will do will be ecosystems. For ecosystems, students will be working on how to understand how plants survive in their environments. So we will only be talking about plants. As students move through fourth grade and into fifth grade, they will start adding on how animals and plants survive. So they'll be focusing on more then. So we start with understanding how plants survive in their environments. So they will need to know the plant life cycle to help them understand how plants survive in their environments. They will also need to know the functions of plant structures. This includes the leaves, the roots, the stems, and the flowers. So this is what we will be focusing on for the science unit for quarter 3. As well as explaining how the environment helps plants to survive and grow. For the fourth 9 weeks, we will have 2 science units. The first one is Earth Systems, Structures and Processes. For this, students will be learning how to compare the structures of the Earth's surface by using models and diagrams. So they're going to compare Earth's water features. So that will be saltwater versus freshwater. And they will also be comparing Earth's land features. This includes mountains, volcanoes, valleys, and islands. So these are going to be the main components of this particular unit. And then from there, we will finish out science with structures and functions of living organisms. So in this unit, students are going to be learning that, or they're going to be understanding that human body systems are essential for life. And we will be focusing on understanding the functions of the skeletal and muscular systems. As students move further into school, once they get into fifth grade, they will focus on all 6 body systems, but we start off with just the skeletal and muscular systems in third grade. And they will also understand that skin is essential for protection. So these are going to be the focuses for this particular unit for third grade to finish off the fourth quarter. So those are all of our science big ideas and all of our units for the entire year. So from there, we will be alternating between science and social studies this year in each 9 weeks. So we will be working on social studies as well as science at the same time, and we will be starting off with social studies at the very beginning of the year. So I wanted to give also an overview and an explanation of the social studies units and their objectives. So again, starting with the first 9 weeks, we'll start off with culture, and then we'll move into geography and environmental literacy. In the second 9 weeks, we only have one social studies unit, and that is economics and financial literacy. And that is also going to be part of quarter 3. So that is a big topic, and it is going to be split into 2 different quarters. In quarter 3, we're going to be talking about history and, again, economics and financial literacy. And we will finish off the year with civics and government. So we will, as I said, start the year with culture. So with this unit, students will understand how diverse cultures are visible in local and regional communities. So we'll be talking about local communities and then communities within an entire region. So with this, students are going to compare languages, foods, and traditions of different cultures in a community. And they will understand how different groups and communities show artistic expression. And they will also explore how different cultures borrow and share from each other. I want to add in that all of the social studies units will go along with what they will be learning in their reading class. So each social studies unit will go along with a different book or set of books that they are doing. in their reading class. So those will kind of go hand in hand. For the second unit for social studies, in the first 9 weeks, we have geography and environmental literacy. So with this unit, students will understand the Earth's patterns by using the 5 themes of geography. So that means they're going to be finding locations of places within a local community and a region. So we'll be focusing on exact locations and then more broad locations. Students will also compare characteristics of places. So these characteristics will include both human and physical characteristics. And they will understand how people adapt to, change, and protect the environment that they live in to meet their needs. So these are going to be the big parts of this unit. And as I said, these first 2 social studies units will go with the books that they're doing for the first 9 weeks in their reading class. And they will also need to summarize the elements that define regions and compare regions based on their characteristics. So there's a lot within the geography unit, but they will all go together and students will be able to use what they're doing in their reading class within this unit. After that, we move into second 9 weeks. And second 9 weeks, we have 1 social studies unit, which is the start of economics and financial literacy. So in this part of the economics and financial literacy, students are going to understand how the location of regions affects activity in a market economy. So students will need to explain how location affects supply and demand, and explain how locations and natural resources influence supply and demand. So this unit is going to start our economics unit, and we are going to focus solely on supply and demand in this particular unit. After that, we move into quarter 3, which we are focusing on history first. And this will be that students will understand how events, individuals, and ideas have influenced the history of local and regional communities. So they will need to explain key historical events that happened over time in both local communities and regions. And they will analyze the impact of contributions made by historical figures over time. Students will also understand the ideas that helped to develop the local communities and regions. And that is the end of the history unit. Those are the big takeaways for history. After that, we continue with our economics and financial literacy. So this part will focus on understanding entrepreneurship in a market economy. So students will explain why people become entrepreneurs, and they will be able to give examples of entrepreneurship in different regions in the state of North Carolina. After that, we move into civics and government, which will finish off quarter 4 and will be the final unit for social studies for the 2020-2021 school year. And there are 2 big ideas within this particular unit. The first one is that students will understand the development, structure, and function of local government. This includes being able to summarize historical development of local government, describing how local government is designed to serve citizens, and understand the 3 branches of government, but we will be focusing on local government specifically. The second big idea in civics and government is understanding how citizens participate in their communities. This includes understanding how citizens contribute to their community politically, socially, and economically, and to understand how citizens, I do apologize, it cut off, but it's going to be understanding how citizens help to make their communities better. And those are all of the units for social studies. So this video will be for you to look at whenever you need to. So have a great year.